queen, well perhaps you're gay. Is there a point to all these fancy clothes? With all these buckles from your head down to your toes. It's very simple, but I'm just another girl. It's not so easy, but I'm giving it a whirl. Is there something that you're trying to prove? With all the makeup and the way you move, are you looking for some sympathy? No, I'm trying to be the best girl I can be. It's very simple, but I'm just another girl. It's not so easy, but I'm giving it a whirl. Like my martinis dry, cosmos I won't deny. Smoke those long cigarettes. Thank God I'm not dead yet. Done all these crazy things, short of a wedding ring. Just another girl.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Callista Solon, and you're watching nlcTrans. Tonight I'm here with my dear friend and usual co-host, Tara Alexander. And we have a very special recurring guest tonight. And you're going to have to forgive me for my voice. I'm suffering from seasonal allergies here. I'm kind of hoarse. But anyway, we have Tara Broccoli, who is professor at Mitchell College, Behavioral Sciences, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
And you were here last year, and you've been gracious enough to come back. We're going to be doing a panel at your school next week, which is really cool. And you brought us a whole bunch of students. And so I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and introduce your students so that I don't butcher their names.
Okay. Well, I teach at Mitchell College. I'm teaching a human sexuality class again this semester. And I actually have 4 students with me who are from that class. Hannah, Rohan, Morgan, and JD are all here with me to talk about the class, what we've been learning about, and the anticipated visit from the tall group next week as well.
We're definitely looking forward to it. We had a great time last year.
Yeah.
And we're definitely hoping we can do that on a recurring basis. So it's great fun.
Yeah.
And your students are wonderful. You know, we get such really we get the greatest questions from your students. It's really cool. So
The panels are a lot more interesting when the folks that are coming to the panel have some preparation, have some knowledge base, and you're not starting at ground zero. And certainly the discussion panel we had last year kicked off pretty quickly.
It did. It did.
yeah, it's cool going to schools, going to universities and stuff. It's just it's great because the atmosphere is very nice, and the students typically are sort of tuned in to ask the right questions and stuff. And so it's great.
And I know they always look forward to outside speakers coming in and having a break from listening to me, and they get to hear some other perspectives, which is always a good thing. And especially with your reputation from last year, I know many students who attended last year are planning on attending this year and bringing friends. So we're hoping to have a nice turnout, next Tuesday.
That'll be great.
Well, you had a pretty good turnout last
We
year,
did.
too. You had almost 100 people that I counted show up over the course of the panel, and that's, of the panels we've done, that's definitely on the high side.
Yeah.
It's on the high side for the panels we've done as well at the school, so it's a very good turnout.
Yeah.
So you brought us a bunch of students. We actually have one more sitting in the corner who didn't want to come on air with us, but we won't force her to come on and embarrass her. But
She's there.
but anyway, so yeah, it's really very cool.
Yes.
So you guys are studying things like us.
Yeah, so to say, just learn how to understand differences, and that differences doesn't always mean bad.
Yeah, well, that's a good way of looking at it. I don't like to think I'm bad. but that is so very cool to actually sort of be studied.
Yeah.
I know we're kind of an anomaly, I suppose, but
Well, and that's a large part of what we're doing by going out and giving these panels and the television show here and such is, to give people that sort of firsthand experience. Hi, this is me. This is what I look like and sound like. This is my personality. Am I as scary as you expected?
oh.
And almost 100% of the time, it's no. But,
That's what we've been focusing this semester on diversity and global perspectives. It's one of the abilities within the human sexuality class this fall. So one of the things we've been doing is really trying to work hard to understand where our reactions come from.
All right.
And with a lot of this material, I'm sure the students can attest to this, you have gut level reactions, and because you feel like they're coming from within, they must be right.
Right.
And then when you start to examine further, you realize that there's been some sort of learning or some sort of influence from culture or personal ethics or morality that you need to consider. And when you start to deconstruct that, you can work through your reaction most of the time, I think, and start to accept new information
Right.
into your sort of cognitive structures and your schemas.
Yeah.
I think that's a very critical skill, because you're always going to be bombarded with new information.
Sure.
Can you process it and integrate it and come to a conclusion about your opinion on it? I've met people who can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's new information.
it
It's
is.
scary. I don't want to hear it.
I think this year has been with that. I think this year the school's been good with that. Because especially, nobody tells the kids I'm taking sex class. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
Sex class, and they go,
Ooh.
yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
They go to
oh,
the
let me.
school have a sex class, and I'm like, yeah. And then I tell them what I talk about in the class, and then they're like, huh, really? Like, I remember one thing that we talk about in class, and I still call my parents. She asked us a question in class. She's like, is it okay for us to have sex with a female while she's on her menstrual period? We all said no. And then she asked us the question, why not? We didn't have a wrong answer for it. So at the end of the day, we learned that it's okay. So now I learned with that. So
Right.
I could have said, oh no, it's part of my culture not to do it. But instead I learned something new. I learned medically there's nothing wrong with it. So
Yeah, but then it boils down to preference.
yeah.
Sure.
Well, and like the whole class, like the class is a very mixed diversity, as you could clearly see. And everyone just took it like with a grain of salt. No one complained.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
was just like, okay.
Exactly.
Oh, what I thought was interesting with the students, we had a speaker from Connecticut College come, Dr. Joan Chrysler, and she talked about menstruation and attitudes towards menstruation. And I went back to class, and the students were very cool about menstruation. They weren't displaying any
Yeah.
of the stereotypes that we typically, think of when we think about menstruation. And then I talked about engaging in intercourse during menstruation, and everyone was in an uproar. Why would you do that? And we finally uncovered, what the taboo was, at least for this generation, and we're able to work through that to some extent.
Which was what?
I think it was finally, the idea that, what would you say? Sort of, I think the dirtiness and unclean
Yeah.
kind of
I
came
didn't
out,
think it was-
and
I didn't have a problem with it, so I was on the
you did
opposite.
it.
Yeah. It's just more like other people think it's disgusting, so you don't really want to talk about it.
Right.
So then the fact that you're not
Hush,
talking
hush.
about it makes it seem like it's the wrong thing to do, I guess.
Right.
But
If they're not going to talk about it, if they don't even know about it, then they clearly don't understand it. So
Mm.
we were talking about the menstruation cycle, and if it was okay to have sex, we obviously were a little grossed out by it, but sure, definitely unsure. It's because